Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome back to Acting with Keira. So for this week's video, I have a bit of a special treat. Last week I had the pleasure of having a really great conversation with the coach MC. We spoke about our experiences with acting and with coaching. This video, you'll get to see what took place in that conversation. He has lots of amazing insight and experience that he can share with us. So make sure to watch the whole conversation on this video and to check him out too at the Coach MC on Instagram and the Coach MC Studio on YouTube. There's lots of amazing insight and creativity and inspiration on his channel, so check it out and enjoy the video. And before we get started, remember to hit that like button and hit subscribe to see more acting tips and videos like this one.
Keira Duffy, a fellow colleague, a beautiful actress, and a very sparkling lady. And I just stumbled across her channel, and I thought, this is something very genuine that you're presenting there, because you're an acting coach. And usually when I, go on YouTube and see what the colleagues and, the competition is doing, I see a very standardized way of, talking about acting. And it's very, it's very straightforward. It's very, powerful and authentic and whatnot. And it's sometimes in a way artificial. And you are talking in a very intimate and very private way about acting. You just have that, it seems like, to have that very close relationship. It's not just the business or the entertainment world. It's the beauty of the craft and how in many ways how it manifests and what we can do with it. So I thought that would be great to invite her over to the Coach MC studio and, talking about her experience. She's from Great Britain, and she works currently and she lives currently in Leicester in the British Midlands, and over here in Munich, where we are based right now with the Coach MC studio, in Germany, totally different work field. And of course, the crisis that we're kind of facing on both sides, that the whole world is facing right now, and how we kind of handle the situation, what we do to tackle this forced home time, let's say it that way.
Yeah.
So welcome on the channel. And
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for your really, really nice comments about my channel and the way I've been putting stuff out there. That's really, really nice to hear.
Yes, I mean it seriously. I don't want to, critique too much about, everybody has his own style, his own way. But usually when I, acting channels on YouTube, they kind of feel the same way for the vast majority. It's like, hey, you have very, upgoing, straightforward going, people talking about beautiful, and you have to do this, you have to get headshots, and not a lot are talking about the craft, like essentially what the craft is actually about. They're giving some great business advice, some great, tips on how you can survive and the struggle, whatever. But like, I would, love to see more channels like yours, like talking about the craft and the beauty of giving and what power acting actually, has. And so, absolutely welcome.
Thank you. That's interesting you say talking about the struggle, because it's such a synonymous word with acting, like the struggling actor.
Yes.
And I guess I've kind of everything about just talking about business and headshots and all of that stuff. I guess for me, that's something that kind of comes with the career path, but it's not the inception, the kind of like reason why you get started or hooked on something. And I think from my experience, I could find that all kind of being quite a bit intimidating when I was younger and quite formal. So it's nice to kind of leave that to one side and just talk about, the fun and the craft of it, like you said.
And isn't it, doesn't the one affect also the other in a fundamental way? If you're just, let's say you focus more on the beauty of the craft and doing it and evolving it and getting better and better at it, won't the success, however that might look, come in like automatically and quite naturally. If you don't focus all the time on having that, success and what I have to do next and how can I reach that, but instead just focusing on evolving with this beautiful talent.
Totally. I think if you focus too much on just the kind of business side of it and forget about the craft, you can get a bit static because you're not working and you're not nourishing that side of it. And
you can get a bit like deer in headlights as well. There's so many different voices and opinions of what the right way to do things is, or how to navigate through an industry, that it can stop the flow and the growth.
And I think you said it. It's static, and at the same time you have this other word, struggle. So the problem is that people are too static, and static problems will come automatically if you move, if you evolve, right? If you're dynamic inside of your actions, it's very hard that problems will come up, will show up anyways. But if you're just standing still and just focusing on that, you won't learn that much, I guess, because I think the struggle and the beauty of our experience is that you're going through a never-ending learning process. And people have sometimes that wrong assumptions, maybe assumption on acting, that once I got a method, once I got figured out how to deliver the line, once I know how to look great, once I got my headshots, but I got the agency, this is now my career starts. But
it's not gonna. No, absolutely. I think the movement thing is such an important thing to remember. And I think some of it comes from fear, because with acting, you can kind of look for validation a lot. Was my performance good? And if it wasn't good, then maybe I don't want to go out there and try something new, or I'm afraid to try something new. So you stay with what's safe, like a process that and that worked this one time, and that can kind of perpetuate that idea of being static. But in the long run, it just isn't helpful.
Fear is standing still, right? It's that
absolutely
reaction to something that maybe is threatening or completely new or unknown, and then you stand still. You get static because you are afraid, right? That's why you're freezing, you're frozen, right? You're not moving.
Yeah, completely. And it is definitely not the way to help you get over that fear or to find that the growth. It's to do the opposite, which is to move.
What do you say to your clients to get out of that static position, to unfreeze?
I think just to encourage trying new things. I think one thing I like to tell people to do if they are a bit stuck or trying the same thing over and over is to do things really over the top.
Right.
Like, don't worry, this isn't meant to be good. It's meant to be bad. Like, just try something. I want you to go big, big, big. To get them away from that idea of doing something well or good or the right way. It's like, chuck that away, do it really ridiculously, and then new things come from it because they're not self-conscious anymore.
I totally agree. But it helps them, like, coming back to the principle of being static. I think that staticness also comes from taking the thing too seriously. Like, you're so afraid, you're so stiff and so severe. No, it's because you're taking yourself too seriously. That's why you overprotect your character, your role that you have to interpret, right? You just don't let him do crazy things or unmoral things or unethical things. But that's the fun about acting. So I think that's a very good piece of advice. How did you get to acting? How did it all start? And when did it start with, okay, now I'm coaching people? Because one thing is to do it for yourself. But I experienced that in a way, coaching is also about suppressing your ego a little bit and to help somebody else. It's kind of a courageous move. So how both things developed in your life?
Acting, I think, was something I'd always enjoyed. As I was younger, I did a lot of music and a lot of activities in general as a kid. And acting was one of the things that I didn't really have lessons on. So I think that made it feel like mine. Like, I chose to do it. So I always enjoyed it, but it wasn't until I was early 20s, just finished uni, that I really realized that you can try and do this as a career, try and do this full time. And I guess it came at that time because I left uni and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't really have a clear career path from my degree at all. So it was then that I really decided to do it and decided to tell people that I wanted to be an actor.
That would have been my next question. How was your environment reacting to that kind of harsh decision, right? It's kind of a...
I've been what's the word, encouraged to do creative things by my parents. So that was, I think there was a happiness about that. But I was still, I guess the ego was there in terms of being embarrassed of trying something that I didn't think other people thought I might be good at, or should I be doing this, or they didn't think of me in that way. So I was definitely worried, but it was more of an inner hurdle. I found once I said it out loud, people were really supportive, and people aren't that bothered with about what you're doing anyway. You know, they've got their own thing going on.
The
so
word
I
is very
was lucky.
powerful. Yeah. Well, once you say it out loud,
Yeah.
it kind of establishes the whole. And
yeah.
And then, like, what was the shift to also add the coaching experience to this wacky idea of living as an actor?
I think I loved studying it at drama school so much. I loved learning about the craft, and once I finished being in that environment, I definitely had let that slide. And so the coaching for me was absolutely, like you said, a really nice way to engage with people and pass on what you've learned. But it was also such a positive thing, which I guess wasn't a reason why I went into teaching it, but has been an amazing side effect, is that it's completely reignited my connection with the craft of it again. This learning environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in there because I realized it was like a renaissance, like getting back to some basics, also to some fundamentals, kind of reliving that situation.
Yeah.
How is it when you're learning a monologue maybe for the very first time, and how is it when it's like, going through all these experiences again also helped me kind of realizing, okay, my flaws and my mistakes that I have today, or certain things that I take totally for granted, I could like revisit, re-enlighten in terms of the craft. Is like, this I could do more precise. Look how great this guy is, or how she is like delivering it. That's a great idea. So yeah, I always say it's a loop of energy. Like coaching,
that's lovely. Yeah.
But you receive a lot. Actually, I'm not quite sure if we're not, receivers that actually give certain situations. It's a crazy, beautiful experience. So I can share that absolutely. And from that point on, maybe you thought, okay, opening up a YouTube channel and giving this type of beautiful service also to the community could be like a good idea, right?
Absolutely. I think that was really from the idea of learning. I wanted to surround myself with the stuff that I loved and share that. And it's also a great tool to make me accountable for my own learning and make sure that I keep on it and keep discovering new things, because now I have a channel to share things with. So it's to share, but it's also like that loop you said, it feeds back to me as well. And it makes my world all about learning, which is amazing.
Wow.
It's really fun. And something else that I think I discovered with the teaching is, when you were saying looking back on things and rediscovering things, is trying to find a way to word things that is understandable to other people. So if you intuitively understand an idea, or you just think you got something when you were studying acting, but trying to kind of unpick it, and what is that, how does that really work, so I can share that information. So that's an interesting process.
Crazy. Sometimes it's driving me nuts. Like, okay, I have to unpack everything that I took for granted, that I knew works and that I knew work. So now I have to kind of revisit and rediscover certain things and kind of express them maybe for the very first time. And a beautiful part about this is also overcoming the jealousy of kind of revealing some secrets and some things that you kind of discovered for yourself, and you kind of constructed over time, that you build, and it's something that it's your style, it belongs to you. You share it with somebody so somebody else can use it. And I thought in the beginning, like, okay, maybe I won't tell everything. Maybe certain things I can tell. I don't know if everybody can work with the type of experience that I had. I wasn't sure if everything that I could formulate would actually be a tangible instrument for the people out there. But I realized the more open I am, the more generous I am with the information, the more truthful I am about myself and how I actually came up with certain things that work or not.
Yeah.
The bigger my spectrum grew and the more beautiful the experience was, because the feedback obviously by the people was way more like overwhelming, because they were so grateful for having something that really works and that is instantly, like, after you rehearse it a couple of times, of course, is instantly usable and applied.
Yeah. That's amazing to see that work that you've had for yourself and you knew really work for you, to share it and see that the effect it has on someone else. That's such a great feeling.
It's an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know what your experience was so far, like when somebody's nailing a big audition that you guys kind of prepared, or he's getting some great feedback and he's truly like grateful for that and happy about a certain self-tape or anything, and he gives you that feedback and he tells us like, wow, it went down great, or I got the job, anything like that. Is like, wow, that is so good. That is so good.
Yeah, that's such an amazing feeling to have that connection with someone where they want to call you with their news, because you know that feeling of having news and you just want to like scream and shout, and to hear that from them is awesome. Yeah.
What was the first text, the first line, the first thing that you said, ooh, this feels good, I can do this, this is acting, let's go, let's explore this more? Because you're coming from a musical background, right? You started with...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think because I did it for fun, I didn't have any particular lessons until I think just before I was trying for drama school. But I'd done things like theatre group and stuff a little bit. And I think I just had a click with it, you know, when you feel like, oh, I can connect, I can let go with this. And I think out of everything I did performing wise, it was the thing I felt least self-conscious with.
Yes.
I was very, very tight with music because I did exams and I felt like there was a right way to do things. And I was surrounded by very talented people. And I didn't feel that pressure with acting. So I found it much more liberating. And with the nerves, I could find quite quickly, if I was on a stage, I'd get over it. And I think it's to do with, there's something that your attention is always on when you're acting. It's always on another person or an object or what's happening. Whereas with other things, I was like, oh no, my attention's on me when I was playing music, which was obviously just a mental block. It didn't have to be that way. No, but for acting, that switch really helped.
You have to realize, wait, my body, my brain is telling me something here. So maybe I go down that path and maybe I follow that route. Because this is maybe where my greatness actually lies. You know, not everything we want is actually good for us, or we're not meant for all the things that we kind of like and appreciate. Sometimes it comes from a totally different angle. And that's why it is so powerful, because like I said, it's no pressure at a certain point.
Yeah.
And because you weren't forced, there was no structure. So it's very organic. Is that also a type of advice that you would give, like maybe to a newbie or somebody who's restarting and rebooting his career, like coming back to like no judgment, no pressure, just deliver, just look for the impulses, I guess? Yeah,
that's a really good thing to point out. And I don't think I'd necessarily relayed that personal experience to a larger group, but I think that that is good advice, really. I think adding on pressure and thinking there is a particular way to do things, it can be helpful to know in terms of developing craft, but you have to be able to let it go and have that sense of play, that sense of fun. It's so important to enjoying the whole process and to growing and allowing yourself to try new things and mess around. Otherwise you get back to that static thing again.
To this big fearful process that kind of a little bit. I had this experience with some clients that came from a method background that I absolutely admire. I mean, I love sometimes how these type of techniques can, you know, that's a very powerful armor right there. And if you got your gears ready, it has a lot of impact. But sometimes I just had that feeling, and they replied that was true. They kind of certified that it kind of freezes down a little bit the whole passionate process about it. wouldn't say over technicalized, technically, but sometimes it's over intellectualized, I guess. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Different types of methods and ways to get into acting. I think over here we're very intellectualized. The way we approach it's very intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
It's very psychological. It's all about the brain first.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in other cultures, it's much more, let's start with the body and the movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way to feed in. So it's interesting knowing the way that you do it yourself, and sometimes saying, hey, let me try something completely different.
Yes.
Because just to unbound yourself again, to get that freedom again.
I'm curious because I'm an immigrant, right? So I'm from Sicily, and I'm living, and I was raised in Germany. So I got the Italian passion, but of my delivery in terms of acting has to be a little bit more controlled, let's say it that way, and a little bit more boiled down in, compared to what I would probably do in Italy when I'm standing in front of the camera.
That's so interesting.
So how is it in Great Britain? Would you say, do you watch any German series, or do you have any idea of like German actors? Can you tell any difference, or what?
I actually don't have much knowledge in German acting, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Me neither. So.
I'm sorry. No, I don't know the difference. I think English acting, it's interesting. When I was at drama school, we had students from different cultures and different backgrounds, different countries.
Where was the drama school? Just give us that.
Central School of Speech and Drama.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting, the different kind of, what's the word, like routine, or the things that we'd fall into based on which country we were from, which is super interesting. All the English people, myself included, it was, you need to let go. You really need to let go. So I think maybe that might be an English thing, is to be a bit more held, or a bit more bound, or a bit more overthinking it rather than letting the passion come first.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's similar with Germany and it's German-Italian experience.
I guess it's pretty similar. I mean, Anglo-Saxon and German, they're also related to each other through bloodline. So I guess it's kind of a similar way of behavior, even though I love the British humor way more than the British, that is just absolutely excellent. What you guys are is, absolutely. And I mean, there has been like a plethora of excellent, outstanding British actors and actresses that really have shaped like styles and whole generations of actors all over the world, because they have been so iconic with their performances. Like, it is incredible. Mm-hmm. So there is something about, that British way of understanding the character. I guess that comes also from having Shakespeare.
I think, that is a big influence. More so in the theatre landscape than the film landscape. Mm-hmm. But that, if you're thinking of theatre, the RP accent that used to, be so prolific,
right,
and rep theatre, that kind of image of that booming voice, and I love all of that, to be honest. But I love loads of different styles. But I think maybe that is part of the less flowing, less loose aspect of it, is that technicality that maybe we've just been used to hearing.
But you know what? That is so. I think it's simply a very good mixture. You have that technicality, and you have that regime, and then at the same hand, you have that beauty and that rhythm and that harmony of the Shakespearean texts and poems and poetry, and of course Bacon and all the other greats. But I mean, of course, let's face it. I mean, Shakespeare it is absolutely, and that kind of how it intertwines and works together is kind of fascinating, because it has something very passionate and something almost Latin in a way, like in a way it expresses and wants and has hate and jealousy and all that, and love and despair, and but delivered right with such an architecture. Quite amazing. Yeah,
that's so beautifully put. It's true that it's such heightened emotions and storylines that are happening, and using the weather and things like that to feed these characters, but so beautifully articulated on top of it all. So it's a good mixture.
what like, let's say you got a client for the very first time, he struggles, he can't really find his position, and he has kind of lost focus maybe. What is like initially, how do you approach? What is your first advice? And also maybe for people watching us, because that's why I asked you, like, I think for people who are starting, when they are not really sure about, should I really be an actor? Should I really do that?
Right.
Should I really pursue this wacky, crazy dream of
Yeah.
living out of just my talent and just looking for jobs the place for the rest of my life? Like, is it really true? Like, how do you capture that?
I think it would come down to the very, very core question of everything, which is why.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this? Why do you want to be an actor? Let's sit down and really think about why. Mm-hmm. Not what you want from it, not what you want other people to say, but why are you doing it? Make it really personal. And that question can be really hard to answer. Sometimes you might think it's really obvious, but really getting down to why you were doing something can take a minute. And I think remembering that and knowing why it is you're doing something makes that attachment so much stronger. Then it's clear what you need to focus on, what it is you want to work on, what the deliverables are, and how to get there. It all kind of stems out from this core question. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know that, it can be really difficult to stay on a path and remember why you're doing something to begin with.
It's your purpose. It's your, like Simon Sinek says, it's your why. It's
absolutely. Yeah.
The reason you're doing this. And I think that's the most important part. It sounds very easy and very simple. Yeah. It's actually, like you said, it's the core. And that is your willpower. That is your stamina, that is the relentless research for jobs, for characters, for impulses, to kind of keep the whole machinery alive.
The funny thing about it is, as well, when you were breaking down a character as actors, you always ask why about the character. Why are they doing this? Mm-hmm. And you forget to ask it about yourself. Yeah. Which is really interesting.
Because we take it for granted. We take it we're on this plan, we have to work, we have to make money, we have to do this, but why? Like, what is your position in all this? I'm curious because you're from London, and London is such a hub. It's such a marvelous place. It's full of glitter and noise. And I lived in Berlin for 4 years, and Berlin, of course, is a bit not as packed as London, but it's one of the hubs in Europe.
I've never been. I'd love to go so much.
You have to see it. It's quite an incredible city. I mean, I've seen it over the decades, so I kind of witnessed the whole change and transformation. Wow. I was there even before the wall came down.
Oh, really?
And shortly,
oh my gosh,
as well. And I kind of saw all this and witnessed it. So it was just it's incredible. But living there and making it as an actor was something completely else. Like, observing it from far was great, but then doing it was it was difficult. I couldn't really find my roots. I couldn't really find my pocket there. I couldn't really find the right people to connect with and kind of work on different projects for a long time. And there are a lot of artists. It's great being there and very interesting projects, but everything is very loose. And I'm a very loose person too. I'm very airy, right? I'm a dreamer and I'm always kind of visualizing new things. So it wasn't the right place for me. I need more grounding as a counterbalance to make my let's say potential really work and get a grip on things so I can really monetize. Sound banal, but in the end, to make some money and need to make a living out of it. I couldn't really do that in Berlin. How was it like? Because you moved away from London, right? You moved to the British Midlands, to Leicester. And how what was your transition like?
Well, when I moved to Leicester, I stopped acting. Mm-hmm. When I left London, it was a clear break in location-wise and career-wise. I'd had enough. And I just needed a change. And then after a while of having a change, my partner told me to change back. He just kind of saw, he was,
Right.
yeah, he was like, you have to do something you're motivated by and inspired by, which is very lucky to have that encouragement from someone. Yeah. And so I hadn't intended to come to Leicester with acting, and I didn't know what it would be like. And the intuitive thing, the obvious thing would be to be in London for acting, of course. But I think maybe a bit similar to your Berlin experience, I felt, for me, quite lost in it. You're surrounded by inspiration, which is the most wonderful thing about it. There's creativity and art all around you. And yeah, that's amazing. And as an actor, I felt a little bit overwhelmed, or I didn't know how to reach out to people, just from lack of confidence, I think, of how do I get there? Everything felt a bit separate. And Leicester's so small. So everything feels more connected in a way. People don't feel as distant, as far away. So with that came a confidence of, I'm just going to try and reach out, because it doesn't seem so high up anymore.
Big.
Yeah. So I found that a really positive thing, just a shift of mindset, really. It's just reaching out to people, and people are really nice and helpful. And
amazing. I love that.
Yeah, so that's been a really positive thing, and I think quite a good thing of not being in a larger city, perhaps. It's easier to talk to people, or someone will know someone who will know someone. And
also get distracted. Like in smaller realities, it's way. I'm a person. I get distracted very easily. You can send me like buy croissants, and I come back like two hours later because I found something amazing, right? So in smaller cities and smaller communities, you keep maybe the focus is a bit sharper, because you get less distracted. There's less pollution, less noise, less people, blah blah blah.
You're absolutely right. That's been a huge factor into changed experience here. There is just less distraction. So just focus a lot more, and it's so easy to get distracted in a big city for me.
No. So it's not focus harder, it's eliminate the distraction, basically. In a way.
I think knowing yourself a bit better, what does distract you, and it's okay. But just facing up to it and say, okay, well, I'm going to try and cultivate an environment where that isn't an issue anymore.
And now, how are you working as an actress? What can you do in a smaller town, and where there's, of course, also less opportunity, less distraction?
Less opportunity. I think with finding that sense of community and meeting people and reaching out to people and trying to create new work, trying to get projects off the ground, one of the nice things I think I found about being here and meeting people is because people haven't necessarily gone through the formal way of doing things. There's a real lightness to the way of approaching work, and a level playing field that I really, really like, and has definitely, for me, encouraged me to try new things or be step more out of my comfort zone, because it's like, hey, let's all just try this thing, rather than this formality of like, hey, what's your credentials and what's this? Because it is a different pathway. Not everyone's done that over here.
Absolutely. It's more about the legacy and less about the currency in a way.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to put it. It's very interesting.
And plus, I mean, for me, it has been also a big help, like motivational wise, to have a YouTube channel and reaching out to other people, just knowing that, I just need a light and a camera. I can record something useful for people out there about acting and just send it out. And it doesn't matter where I am. If it's a big hub or a smaller community, it's all good. I'm still having my audience. I'm still getting my feedback. So,
when did you start your YouTube channel?
So the first approach was 2015, but that was just out of fun, because I was always into music and also hip hop, and I was always signing and jamming. And so my now wife, back then my girlfriend, she said, you know what, I can't stand it. You just rap the whole time. Just record something. It's like, just put it on a channel, somebody will watch it. So that was the initial program, but that was, of course, it wasn't really like professional or anything that was intentional to have like any meaning, let's say, in that way. And then when we started coaching 8 years ago, it started, and then we started realizing that by doing all these self-tapes, by doing all these sessions online with people via Skype and chatting, and like, this could be a very good resource for our clients, for maybe future clients and other actors out there, like, you know, having sort of an audiovisual library about what you are really teaching and what your method, if you can call it, what it is all about. And also, like, because we had clients calling back for the very, you know, same advice a couple of times, like, what was that again? Just tell me what you did on that. And it's like, you know what, let's put it out there. And then we started like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago, we started doing this a bit more thoroughly, a bit more professionally. And yeah, it started with the acting tips. And then, of course, acting is about technical stuff, but acting is also about a lot of spiritual stuff, about a lot of unconscious stuff that you can't really put into words. And on drama school, you learn about Tai Chi, you learn about meditation, you learn about fencing, you learn about music, you learn about body. So we thought we have to give more than just the technical stuff. We have to give them also some substantial, spiritual, kind of consistent advice and some instruments there. So we started with the meditation. We started with these active guided meditation playlists. In a way, it's sense work, and in a way it's relaxing and just focusing on what your character, on what you want to do. And then, of course, I was always into drawing, so we added that in the end. But yeah, it's a beautiful process. Like, it's crazy how even on a small level, how accomplishing it can feel when people are getting back to you, or sometimes meeting you. It's like, hey, I saw your channel, it's very good advice, it really helped me, I really learned something. It's marvelous.
I've definitely been inspired by checking out your channel, just seeing the variety of content on there and the creativity on it. Absolutely, it's been amazing. And I've been like, you know what, maybe I can venture out and put other things up there as well. So I think it's awesome. I've really enjoyed watching the videos on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, put your music in, put all this stuff in. We got so much to give. And like I said, the first time when I met you, like, you really have something that's called spark that is not technical. You know, a lot of people they're very technical about their delivery, about what they're saying, about their, and by all means, if it works for them, it works for their audience, and they're giving out, let's face it, some very good chunks of useful stuff, no doubt about it. But passion and spark, you know, that is the magic that lights up the place. You know, ultimately, it also is what sets you apart from your competitors. And when you see somebody who's delivering the same lines with the same volume, with the same intensity, but on top of that, he has something that is so genuine about him, that is so true and kind of, you know, makes you wonder. Like, because we talked about the questions, like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Why am I starting this character? Why am I starting this play? And in the end, I think the audience likes to be baffled. The audience likes to be surprised. The audience likes questions way more than it likes answers.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Something that
the Joker. Right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you think about the Joker, you know, it's just a character that makes you wonder the whole time what's going on with him. You're asking a lot of questions throughout the whole movie. It's like, what?
Yeah, such a brilliant character, the Joker. So many lives the Joker's had, and all of them just amazing. I was going to say that something that reminds me of is a thing that I think is very liberating to actors, and what I teach to people is to look for the complexity within their characters. Because I think when you oversimplify things and maybe hand an answer on a platter, it becomes really blocking as well, because life isn't simple and it isn't
Absolutely.
that easy. It's complex. There are loads of questions, so look for that. Hello?
Oh, you're back.
Hi.
Like,
Yes.
you were talking about the complexity, and I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a really liberating thing if you find the complexity within the person you're playing. It's so much easier to relate to them. It's so much easier to empathize. You might not sympathize with them, but you say, oh, this is a person that has angst, like what we all do. And that's how you can create believable characters. That's where you find the truth, is in the complexities.
How does it come that people are, they're always taking the path of least resistance, even though they know that what you're saying is absolutely true? Because once you ask specific questions, you get to the bottom of things. And if you're just satisfied with the surface of things, you're not really getting any traction out of your character. So why is it like that people are so easily satisfied with oh, you know what, this works, okay?
I don't know, maybe it's from not being aware of how much they could get out from it, their own potential.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, that's fine, that
They've never
feels
reached
okay.
that kind of pinnacle, so they don't know, like, I'm able to perform way better, actually.
Exactly. Yeah, if you think it's a good presentation, it's surface level. It's different from feeling that connection and that wave you get when something feels like it's living and breathing in that moment. And I think it might come from not having access to that and not knowing that they've got all that well deep within them, just waiting to be discovered.
Very powerful. Yeah. Surely it is one of the reasons. One of the other reasons, I believe, is that, like we said, people are very distracted. And distraction comes from that instant validation that is nowadays available, right? With your thumb and a small device, you get instant gratification. You're so easily satisfied if you want. So, why putting in all that work? Why sweating so much? I can have that so easily, and people are distracted about that temptation. They don't realize that even behind an Instagram account, there's a lot of work.
So much work. Absolutely.
So much work, there's so much labor, there's so much sweat in there. So every character needs that too. Don't,
that's such a brilliant point. And something I wish the veil was lifted on a bit more was how much work goes into things. I feel like sometimes people, because they don't realize how much work other people put in to get where they are, they write themselves off because it isn't easy. Oh, well, why is this so hard? Why am I having to work so hard at it? I must not be good at it. And that can mean you don't put in as much effort. And I wish that hard work was talked about more, like a good thing, rather than kind of being a dirty secret.
Yeah.
I worked really hard on that.
And plus, it takes the jealousy out of the game. Once you know that it's hard work, you won't be as jealous as you would be, if you have no clue about how he got that success. Because a lot of people think he just auditioned one time and there was a lucky shot, and now he has that world career. He's earning all these millions, and he's actually not worth it. It's not true. There are machines out there working relentlessly and working on their craft and working on themselves. And also acting is an ongoing study, is a never-ending process, like you said, of learning and researching and reading and secondary and literature, and getting as much information and inspiration for your character inside of your system as much as you can to really develop something multi-layered and deep and very specific. Like you said,
absolutely.
Ask big questions. Ask yourself a lot of times why. Be very specific and very detailed about the questions of your character, and you will explore way more things. And it's a paradox, because maybe also, besides all the reasons that we call for not doing that, one reason could also be that people are not aware of the fact that actually heightens your character and makes it easier to interpret character, and makes it loftier and not more severe, not harder, and not stiffer. It's actually way more liberating. As more things you know, the easier it gets to interpret it.
It's a balance, I think, of finding that fine line of doing all of the work and focusing on the attention, and then being able to let it go and just believe that it's within you.
Absolutely. Once you got it figured out, you can let it go. You don't
drop it.
Anything of that.
Yeah.
Because that again, I think, is one of the things that sometimes stands. I mean, everybody has his own, things and inconsistencies, but I observe that mostly with method acting, that they're sometimes too perceptionized about how the character should develop, because they're still holding on to that process, even though they are performing. What you're doing it, you have to let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. You got it inside of yourself. You got it internalized already. Yeah. Trust yourself about that. It's like, I always make this example that most pianists, most great, musicians, once they go to the concerto, they don't take their note sheet with them anymore. They just look at it maybe before the concert, and then even though it's like 30,000 of notes that you have to play, they just do it out of memory because they trust themselves so much. They internalized every sequence, everything that they have to play. So just, and then sometimes there is a slight slip up or a little mistake. So what?
Yeah.
It's human. That's beautiful. It's the way how you handle the slip up, not if it happens. It's how you get around it and how you can maximize maybe its effect and use it in your own favor. Not that you're not worrying yourself like method.
Absolutely.
Oh no,
it's
off.
And if you don't let it go when that mistake happens and you're doing a live performance, you won't know how to fix it because it's not lined up with everything that you had planned, and you're too stuck in your head. Whereas if you have let it go and you're really, all your attention is on what's happening and you're really engaged, it's so easy to overcome those obstacles and they become really fun. And they're often the really like sparkling moments in a show.
I don't know what your experience was so far, but these things that you thought of yourself would be your inconsistencies and your problems and your flaws. These things will actually develop to be your most powerful weapons. They become something absolutely unique about you. Because once you kind of, embrace them and you welcome them into your system, instead of like excluding them, like, no, right? And once you worked on them, you worked so much more on those things that you called flaws and inconsistencies than on the things that you own naturally, that those will actually become that super weapon, which shows again that practice. This relentless practice. Singers practice, guitar players have to practice. Practice.
It's so true. And I think with music, it's more accepted that practice is part of being a musician, and with acting, people forget. It's practice.
Like, once they get out of drama school, I also kind of observe that a lot. It's like, no, I'm an actor. I gotta figure it out. No, you get just some initial tools, right? A doctor wouldn't say, "No, I'm the best neurosurgeon in the place." Those surgeries, knowing the theory part and everything is beautiful, but you have to go, and drill for it.
And I think imagination is such a key tool, and one that if you don't exercise can get a little bit smaller, and is when you exercise it, you have new ideas all the time. And those tricky situations when a mistake does happen, your imagination and how to get out of it is so valuable.
Talking about imagination in this period right now that we're going through, it's kind of, after a certain while staying at home and being in this quarantine is like, can be very demanding in a way and frustrating. It's like, how do you keep hovering? How do you keep your momentum, your spirit alive? How do you keep things floaty?
Meditation. Always a great way to start the morning.
Are you in the morning? Okay.
I do it in the morning, and some yoga and breathing exercises, and it's just a nice way to wake up, set the day, and connect to yourself, it's kind of miraculous the difference it makes really over a sustained period of time. And reading a lot, which we've spoken about before, but it just unlocks so much. You basically got another person with you when you're reading someone else's words. It's a whole new perspective. So it's a new energy in the space with you. I've been watching a lot of, there's loads of shows streaming online. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching some great theatre and just keeping engaged with any ideas you've had and spending time. I'm gonna indulge myself and work on those ideas and write down stuff about them. And it's a fun time. Really nurture yourself.
Because I also think that in a way, this condition that we're in naturally will maybe, it kind of cleans up the market. And I'd say it in a very rude way, because a lot of people maybe will jump off the boat and say, you know what, that's the ultimate sign. I'm done for now. So whoever's investing right now in being the first on when everything starts, instead of just, kind of reacting to it, like acting in it, like instead of just God, no, what happens, and you are just affected by it. No, you're counter affecting it by saying, this is perfect, thank you for this, for this opportunity that I can invest in myself, because otherwise I would have to kind of work and hustle and struggle out there. Now I can stay home and focus on how I want to start first whenever the doors are open again.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously everyone's in a different situation, and it's hit some people pretty hard in terms of finances and stuff like that, which obviously takes up a lot of mental space. But I think something you touched on there made me think about that negativity versus positivity outlook. And if you want to see something, if you want to take control of the situation, say, I have a choice in how I'm going to behave in this time that I have, it's so much more powerful, and it allows you to create more and feel better. The days fly much more faster when you take control over your time.
Absolutely. When you approach your character for the very first time, you have two possibilities. You can make two choices, whether you go for the love or whether you go for the fear. Is your character acting out of fear and jealousy and envy, and is he manipulate and trying to control the situation, or is he acting out of love? Is he generously embracing the situation and acting of being a part of it and exploring it, and whatever happens to the character, kind of defending the ways of the character? And I think the same thing is true for our current situation. Are you approaching it with love or fear?
Yeah, absolutely. Have you found any interesting ways to, obviously you're busy now, but were you finding any interesting ways to keep the days flowing by?
We're always busy. We're always busy. It's actually, it hasn't been that much of a change. We just need to go to restaurants sometimes, and we are foodies, so we love to go out and go for dinner. But otherwise, we're at home a lot because we work online. We have a lot of students. We have a lot of clients. We shoot videos for YouTube. We have different projects, artistic projects. So we work a lot, but this has been great so far that we had more time for the things. We could sleep a little bit more and think about how, to do some videos, or how to work with a certain client, or how to prepare a certain self in a bit more thorough way. So that was beautiful. Kind of gave us also some air back into our lungs. Definitely helped us to recover a little bit, because last year's have been pretty crazy. But honestly, I think crisis, problems have always been and will always be part of the evolution of mankind and of this planet. And always, maybe because I'm from an island, we are optimistically by DNA, by reason. It's like, it's always going to be something. And the most important part is that you are all right with yourself, that you are doing good stuff, that you have a good conscience about your actions, about how you invest in yourself. And of course, you can't change everything, but you can change definitely the way how do you react to things, and how you kind of, what kind of perception you want to have on things. Like you said, love or fear. So that kind of drove us the last couple of weeks. But now, luckily, we're back on set, so that's definitely something good, because I just love the people. I just love being on set and shooting with great people. We have such a great team. And
how was that, the first moment of seeing everyone?
It's I know we see each other we're now for 15 years, so we know each other quite well. But after 5 weeks, it was like it was still like, okay, it's good to see you. It's really good to see you.
We see different faces.
Yeah, beautiful, friendly faces, and behind a mask. But then again, it's good to have those people, because they're truly what this is all about. Like, just wanted to ask you, like, are you planning to go back to London? You want to stay in Leicester, do more videos there? What's your long-term goal? What do you want to do?
It's a good question. Perhaps long-term, eventually to London. Mm-hmm. It's not on the radar for the immediate future at all. Well, the goal really is to be able to live remotely, work remotely, and travel, and see arts in different cultures, and learn more in that way. And then maybe after that, back to London. But we're not, at the minute, it's kind of up in the air. The main thing is focusing on, I guess, cultivating a life where we can move around a bit.
That's beautiful. And if you're a girl in Leicester and you're 16 years old and you have this crazy dream about becoming an actress, and besides taking lessons from Keira Duffy and of course following her channel, what would your first advice be?
To always have fun. Mm-hmm. To always remember why you're doing it, and it is about playing, and you're doing it ultimately to feed yourself and have a good time. Always remember that.
That's great. I mean,
simple. Have fun.
Simple things that are the most powerful usually.
Yeah. How about you? What would be your key advice?
My key advice is it's very similar. I think it's fun to be someone else. It's great to interpret someone else, right? Don't leave it just with the words. Put everything you got in there. Just think about your costume. Think about your expressions. Think about where you're coming from, your background, and create the craziest, most specific and complicated, wacky, insane character that you eventually can come up with, and have fun feeling all these facets. And then, of course, just play with it, and then when you realize it's getting serious, then maybe boil it down to the point where it has control and traction, because power and passion is superb and it's very important. But if you don't have an effective control, if there isn't like a real gear that you can place in to shift the intensities, to kind of control the actions and direct it to control, then it's kind of ephemeral sometimes. It's kind of volatile, which is okay to look at, but to really impact on the long term for yourself and for the audience, I think you need both. I mean, you need absolute passion and a wonderful, wacky inspiration and imagination that you can train, like we said, but then at a certain point you need some order. I always say paintings are made out of color, but the viewer perceives the black line that surrounds and holds and embraces the color.
Brilliant. Yeah.
If you just have color on a canvas, there is no shape. Mm-hmm. The eye perceives the order around the color, but it feels the power and the emotion and the passion and the expression of the feeling of the color. So it needs both. I hope our community can get much out of this conversation. I definitely did. I took a lot out of it. And let us know also in the comments down below what you think of this. If you got any other ideas, any other questions, any other comments.
Thank you for the conversation. It's been so interesting to hear your views on everything and just to chat about it all.
Thank you so much, and see you next time. Stay safe and stay healthy, and come out even stronger of all of it.